Hey there, friend. Welcome to the Living Well-Rounded podcast, a curated space for those of us seeking an intentional life filled with grace, passion, and purpose. I'm your hostess, Geomyra, wife, mama, life and biz coach, educator, dessert fanatic, and on the ultimate mission to get you closer to your idea of what it means to live well-rounded. Right here's where you'll find exceptional resources, noteworthy tips, community, and relatable stories, no matter what season of life you're in. Take a break, cozy up, hang out with me for a bit, and let's dive in. Hey friend, welcome back to Living Well-Rounded, or welcome if you are new. You are tuned in to episode 97, and I am your hostess, Geomyra. I am joined today by a guest, though. I am not by myself. I am joined by a woman that I have admired from afar for years at this point. And what I admire about our guest is that she has decided to do business in a way that fits her family and her version of living well-rounded, which I am all about. Today, I am sharing some space with Shay Cochrane, and she is just a wealth of knowledge, which, I always try to bring you the best of the best with our guests, and she definitely delivers on this episode. And that's because she shows us and tells us how she is able to do business in a way that makes her business profitable. It makes it so that she is available to her family and, more importantly, to herself. So I want to read Shay's bio, and then we are going to welcome her to the mic. As a commercial photographer and a product stylist, Shay's clients span the globe. Brands like Sugarfina, Pure Fiji, Truffle Bags, and Simplified Planner, to name a few. But powerhouse female entrepreneurs like Marie Folio, Jenna Kutcher, and thousands of others know and love her for her Social Squares membership. And this is where she puts her years of work as a commercial stylist and photographer into a highly curated stock image membership. Her vision is to enable more women to find greater success sharing their ideas and businesses with the world, and she manages to do this in just a 16-hour work week. Crazy, y'all. She has been married for 15 years to her fellow entrepreneur husband, Graham Cochrane, and they call sunny Tampa, Florida, home, along with their 2 daughters. Let's welcome Shay to Living Well-Rounded. Hi, Shay. Welcome to Living Well-Rounded. I am so excited to chat with you. I've been a fan of yours forever and ever. And so to have this time with you means everything to me because I know the audience will learn a lot from you and will be inspired. So before we dive into the interview, do me a favor and introduce yourself.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I feel the same way. And I feel like the first moment that you and I got introduced to each other, we knew instantly that we were each other's kind of people. So I'm excited to finally have this conversation with you. So thanks for just giving me the opportunity to do that. I am a wife of 16 years. I got 2 girls. I have a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old. My husband and I are both business owners here in Tampa. So our house is kind of like a 24-hour mastermind in real life, for better or for worse. We've almost our entire marriage is both owned businesses. So, just neck deep in this. And I run a styled stock membership for female entrepreneurs called Social Squares, where I still produce some images, but also just manage a lot of incredible contributors, all with the goal of just providing imagery for other female small business owners to market their business to the world. So I get to have a lot of fun with that and have an awesome team that supports me in that.
I love it. And it's funny because I swear we're right neck and neck. I have an almost 12-year-old. Well, she'll be 12 by the time people listen to this. This will be 14 years of marriage for me. And for my household, we are 100% commission based as well. So my husband always says you eat what you kill. So we're always out there trying to figure it out so we can keep a roof over our head and just live the dream. And, it's a beautiful roller coaster ride, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's the best. It's the best. And so you mentioned that you and your husband both have businesses of your own. And so what I have learned from you over the years is that you work hours that would traditionally be considered part-time for some people. However, you have built a business that is respected, admired by so many people in the creative space. But I'm curious to know, what does a typical work week look like for you and how you run your business in your household?
Yeah, you're right. I work hours that raise people's eyebrows. And usually it's like, oh, So it's just a little thing that you're doing on the side
Oh
then,
God, I
right?
hate that.
'Cause
It's a
it's
little,
just,
little side hustle thing
it's
you do,
just a
right?
little side thing that you do. But I work 16 hours a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 hours Tuesday, 8 hours on Thursday. And that is how it has been since my daughter was young. Um, and I do think that I've built a, quote unquote, full-time business in terms of like success and profitability, and reach in that small amount of time. I don't at all consider it a side hustle, even though I mean it is, I guess, on the side. It's a small number of hours, but Graham and I both, he's the same way. He has built multi six-figure businesses working like 4 to 16 hours on them. So we both have just kind of nerded out in a way on pressing the limits of how limited hours can be a catalyst for growth. So yes, it is a very strange amount of hours that I work. And it definitely has its benefits for growth, which I know we'll talk about, and also its challenges, which we'll talk about. But it is always funny to share, and a little I'm still a little insecure about it when people, I think still to this day, people just assume 40 hours a week or full-time work means you're doing something awesome and building something great. And I'm like, well, I just work these few hours. It's not lost on me still that there's a little bit of judgment that comes along with that.
It's interesting because you made a great point. Like, who said that 40 hours was the magic number? Like,
Right?
who said that it has to be 8 hours a day? Why can't it just mean you're more productive than some people
Right.
within those, 8 hours per day?
Yeah.
Because like when you said it, I'm like, well, who made these rules?
It was actually made up. I wish I could spit to you the actual data, but it was made up by like the government at a specific point in time because they had to qualify something. I was just on a podcast with Graham and he just like rolled off all this historical data about it. But point being, it was literally made up. It is a made up amount of time.
This is some trash. You just throw it out the window, do what you want. And if it works for you, it
Exactly.
works for you. I love it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's the same thing with weekends. Like, who said we
Mhm.
need 2 days and not 3 or
Yeah.
4?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So make your own rules is the lesson here. Do what works for you, do what works for your family, which is to me the most important thing. And so you work the 8 hours on Tuesday, 8 hours on Thursday. And does that mean the rest of the days you just don't turn on a laptop? You don't do any other things related to your business?
Yeah. So even I guess I should say within that, one thing I'm trying to do with those work hours this year is divide them up even more to where Tuesday is like my desk day and I do all my desk work. And then Thursday, I spend the first 2 hours doing desk work, like whatever other Asana tasks I had that I needed to do. And then I spend the last 6 hours doing creative time. So I've even more tried to split those 16 hours into like really pushing the limits of what's needed from me creatively as a producer and then like what's needed from me as CEO. But the other days I do whatever the heck I want.
I love it.
No, my other days are actually pretty full, but they're full of other things that are meaningful. So I get the chance to, those are the days I work out. I don't work out those are just my 2 days that I'm willing to work out. Fridays, Graham and I set aside for date day. So since we both run businesses, we take Fridays off and that's our day to spend together. When we do marriage counseling, it's on Fridays. We go out to lunch, we go for walks, we'll go, just go find something to get into. So that leaves Mondays and Wednesdays. And usually it's like, I'll work out in the morning. I have time to meet up with a friend. If there's a friend that I want to meet for coffee with, I have time to catch up with family. My brothers and I have a Vox channel. Like that's my day, or a Marco channel, or like, that's my day that I'll catch up with them. That's the day I'll catch up on Voxes from friends and just try to like pour into those other friendships. There was a season when I was helping with executive operations at my church and I was doing that on Mondays and Wednesdays. But then a lot of days I don't have anything that I have to do and I'll just go sit outside or I'll go get a massage or I'll go for a walk or I'll take a nap or I'll do laundry, like take care of, I actually love cleaning my house. So like I'll clean my house on those days so I don't have to do it in the evenings or on the weekends. Like it gives me the margin to not only pour into friendships Also, it gives me time to do hobbies if I want to, garden or something like that. But it gives me the chance to pull what would typically have to happen in nights and weekends with your kids, with your husband, and just gives me a chance to like take care of some of that stuff during the day. So yes, to your question, I don't open up a laptop or get any notifications, like work related notifications to my phone or anything like that. I really do try. It's not perfect, but I would say it's like 90% that I'm able to completely not touch work on my off days, really, because I'm just busy doing other stuff that I love. It's not like I'm sitting around like, man, what in the world would I do?
I love it. You are the walking definition of living well-rounded for us in this community, because you are very intentional with your time. You're filling your cup with things that matter most to you. You're
Yeah.
being intentional. It's amazing to hear that you have allocated time for all of the things that make up your well-rounded life. So I love that so much. And so why did you decide to shorten your work week, or push the limits, shake things up a bit? What was it that made you want to do that?
So the not, the not fancy answer is that it was all the childcare that I could afford when I first started building my business.
Genius.
Like, that was it. Like I could only afford. So I was so we were both actually in the wedding industry. I was in the wedding industry as a photographer, as a wedding photographer, long time ago, 12 years ago or so. And that was just exhausting and in conflict with, I had just become a new mom and was still trying to maintain work at the level that it was pre-children. Also, my heart then is torn in two, because I did love work, but now I have this new child and I want to love becoming a mom, and I want to love that season also. So very quickly, I realized that I wasn't going to be able to do both of them at the same time. Like some women are able to like hold a child and write an email, and they can just kind of jump back and forth between those two worlds. Some people do a great job at that. And so they choose to have those things be very blended. I don't. I have to like really compartmentalize them. And when I don't, if I try to do them both at the same time, what I found right away was that I was resenting being a mom instead of resenting being a business owner. Because those early days, I mean, it was a long time ago for both of us, but when
Yes.
you're nursing 10 hours a day and changing diapers and like not having adult conversation, and you're just pouring yourself out and you're not getting a whole lot back for it, it felt way better to be like a successful business owner and talking to other adults. And that was way more in the short term satisfying and affirming and validating than like changing another diaper. But I knew that my heart was for being a mom. I wanted to be a mom. I didn't want to resent my daughter. I chose to have my daughter. Like, I'm so great. I was grateful to be a mom, but I found myself in the moment, I didn't default to resenting the client. I defaulted to resenting that I had a baby here that had needs. And immediately when that was happening, I was like, this is not what I want. This isn't where I want my priorities and my heart to be. So long story short is I just knew right away I had to compartmentalize, but all I could afford was 2 days a week of childcare. So that was Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then that morphed into, the preschool that was offered there was a 2-day a week option. So I put her in that, and then had to get a sitter for my other child at one point in time. And it just has always stuck, the Tuesdays and Thursdays. So now my kids are both in school. I could work 5 days a week if I wanted to. And everyone says, oh, great. Now that your kids are in school, I mean, this is a few years ago when the youngest went off, are you going to start working more than 2 days a week? And at that point, I really did get a choice. Like I could work every day of the week if I want to, but the 16 hours now for me represents the amount of time that I need to invest in all those other things that I love. Like I really do need that Monday and Wednesday to invest in those other things that I love. And then I really do need that Friday to invest in my marriage and time together with him. So, it also is just like the boundary line that keeps me loving work and not, getting burnt out by it, or because I go real hard in those 16 hours.
Yes.
Like you can imagine, like it's very focused work. So it keeps me, the 16 hours is like the sweet spot for me that I don't burn out. It's also still the sweet spot where I can turn it off, which is really the goal for me, is like when I'm out of it, be all the way out of it. And I've found if I try to work any more than that, especially if I did like a little bit of work every day, I'll go 150 miles an hour mentally in the work direction. And it's super hard for me to be present as a mom and not be on my phone, not be on Slack, not be on computer if I even like touch it a little bit. So the 16 hours now is just like a chosen boundary that keeps me able to be fully present in work and then able to be fully present in the rest of my life on, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays.
It's great that you know what your boundaries are, because I think a lot of people struggle with trying to determine how many hours. And again, for us over here in Well-Rounder community, is it's being present. So if you're going to be hanging out with your kids, be hanging out with your kids. Don't have your phone on your lap. Don't scroll emails. And for us, it's funny, Tuesday is our date day. And with that, it's intentional time. And we're always reminding each other, like, stay off your phone. We're gonna, do things that just enrich the marriage. But even if you're a person and you're listening and you're not a creative and you don't have a business, but the goal is always to just be intentional with your time, carve out time for what matters most, figure it out how you can be more productive so that you can make time for the things that you really want to do. And it's interesting, you said something about hobbies. And, I asked my friends a couple months back, I'm like, so what are your hobbies? And everyone's like, hobbies? Do I get to have a hobby as an adult?
Does laundry count as a hobby?
Yeah. Children will have hobbies and they're into activities and clubs, but as adults, sometimes we lose that. And so I'm also just trying to encourage more people to pick up a hobby, do something that brings you joy, learn a new task or something else. And, it's great to hear that you are doing hobbies and doing things that feel fun and refreshing and not just work, 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 mom, wife, but things that fill Shay's cup as well.
Well, and to be honest, like I tend to measure a day even now based on productivity, and I'm really trying to work on that. I'm like literally working with a coach on that specifically. And I'm just kind of starting to learn a little bit more about the role of play in just our overall like, psychological health, but also as business owners, like the level of content that we're able to produce and the way we're able to show up if we open up areas of our brain for play. So I'm not great in the hobbies department. I'm like actively trying to carve out margin for it, because the little bit that I've learned so far is that it's actually like really a lot more powerful than we think. And as adults, we just don't do it. So ask me in 6 months if I've like firmly developed a hobby, but I have the very least carved out time for it, and know that there's something to this, like me being able to be a better wife and mom and CEO has something to do with whether or not I have any like playful outlets. So anyway, more on that. We'll see. 6 months.
Okay. I'm putting it on my calendar. Check in 6 months, see what you whipped up or created.
See if I'm playing.
Or all the things. So if someone is listening and they're like, man, this sounds great. I have my business. I'm actually working way more than 40 hours. I'm in the trenches. What advice could you give them to actually maybe start to implement some of the things that you've been able to do?
Yeah, that's such a great question. That is the question, right? So I think it starts with, and you mentioned this earlier, it really starts with deciding would be step one. What is your vision for work? What do you want? What does your family want? Like, how often, and very specifically, just, I don't mean like, we all come up with a vision of like, oh, I want to hit this revenue goal, or I want to, reach this point in business. But I think most of us as small business owners let our clients or the industry dictate how many hours we give it. We just assume, okay, I'm just going to open myself up to do it, and I'll take all the work that comes, and I'll be available whenever I think everyone else is supposed to be available, and that kind of thing. We just operate based on a lot of assumptions without deciding, I want to work 3 days a week or 4 days a week. I want to work in 4-hour periods of time or 2-hour periods of time. I want to do it all in 2 days. I want to do it, in the evenings, in the morning. What's so beautiful about being a small business owner is that you have the opportunity to choose. But what happens usually is that we leave a 9 to 5, 40-hour week job only to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for ourselves. We become an even a meaner boss than our old boss was, because we don't even let ourselves take vacation. We take our laptop with us. Like, it's so crazy, but we're like, oh, but I love what I'm doing. And I'm doing it for myself, but we're not deciding. So I think step one is deciding and talking to, if you're married, talking to your spouse. If you have kids old enough to speak into it, get their input too, talk to your friends, but decide for yourself, what days of the week do you want to work? What hours do you want to work? Do you want to take vacation? How much vacation? How frequently? Do you want to take a week off every quarter? You get to decide that. Do not tell yourself the limiting belief that you cannot determine your hours and still be successful, because 100% you can. So step one is deciding, and it's just amazing how many of us don't decide. And so everything else just decides for us, and we become the victim of it. So step one would be to decide. Number two, I think step two would be identifying. And I kind of think of this as like giving yourself permission to start from scratch. If you were starting over today as a business owner, what would you do and not do? If you're like me, I tend to just do certain things because I've always done them. So I have some assumptions in my head that it has to be done. Oh, I have to answer email. I have to whatever. I have to put out this amount of content a week, or I have to, whatever it is in your context. I think it's very interesting to every year at least say, if I was going to rebuild this over again right now, today, what would I include and what would I not include? And then the more strategic layer to that is doing some kind of like 80-20 analysis of your business if you do already have a business. Because what has already been proven by smarter people than me is that 80% of what you're doing is really only contributing to 20% of the wealth, which is crazy, of the revenue that your business is bringing in. So only 20% of what you're doing is actually generating 80% of the revenue, right? So that's Pareto's principle. So if you give yourself a moment to get down to the bottom of what is it that I'm actually doing that's generating revenue, and then how can I get rid of the rest, delegate it, just delete it entirely, automate it. What can I do with that other 80% so that I'm just doing the 20%? And then you can begin to build a business just around that 20%, which I would argue is not a limitation on growth, but actually a catalyst for growth. Because if you have 40 hours of work, you're going to fill that 40 hours. They're not all going to be with revenue producing items. When you limit yourself down and you identify exactly what is going to be most effective for actually generating revenue, and double down on that, you could still work 40 hours a week if you want to. I'm not telling you have to work less hours, but if you were even just working those 40 hours on that 20%, you would actually see 2x, 3x, 4x revenue, just because you're being more strategic with the use of your time. So a helpful question for me when I was initially trying to start from scratch and think over and identify what it is I actually wanted to do was, and this isn't my question, I want to say that it's maybe from the 4-Hour Workweek. He poses, which is a, very controversial book. I don't necessarily align with everything in it, but he does pose an interesting question. He says, if you went to the doctor and your doctor told you, you have got a terrible heart condition and it is a life or death matter that you only work 4 hours a week on your business or you're going to die. What would you do in those 4 hours? And then you go back to the doctor, 2 weeks later, and he says, this has gotten even worse. It's even worse than we imagined. You can only work 2 hours a week or your heart is just going to explode and you're going to die. What would you do in those 2 hours? So that's the helpful question to me, is man, if I could only work on my business 4 hours a week, what would I do? And then if I could only work 2 hours a week, what would I do? Those questions will generally help you identify the best use of your time. So decide what you want, decide what your vision is, and then do some identification, some strategic identification of what's really moving the ball down the court for you, and give yourself permission to start from scratch and rebuild it. And then rebuild it again, rebuild it 3 months from now, however you want it to look. It's not too late to just start over and change the business model so that it better fits you. So
Oh, love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. And just the idea of being able to start over. I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't realize that you can start over at any moment. You can change your offerings, your services, you can shift, you can pivot. And it's funny you mentioned, we leave corporate or we leave 9 to 5 to be our own boss, but then we're working double the amount and you're not, you thought you weren't happy then. Goodness,
yeah.
you're not even present as much. So it's a lot of things to consider, but I just love the idea of being able to start over at any
Mhm.
moment because you're in charge, you're the boss, this is your life, your rules. So we have to set the boundaries. So
Yeah.
love that so much. And so, what have been some of the benefits of being able to build your business the way that fits for your family? And being able to focus on what matters most, obviously, is one of them. But what other benefits have you seen come from setting those boundaries and being intentional with your time?
Yeah. It's a great question. I think outside of work, I'm so grateful to say that have I feel like a very healthy marriage. Like my husband is still my best friend 16 years in. And I think that's because of setting aside that time and saying, like, this is a priority for us. So we're going to make it work. And it couldn't always be a date day. It used to have to be a one day a week, evening. But now, and because we both own businesses, it can be an every Friday thing. So I think a healthy marriage, that also has to do with being present in the evenings, like being present on the weekends. I mean, we don't really like to talk about this a lot, but a lot of us, and I have been there also, will use work to escape situations that feel hard, right? Sometimes it is easier to sit next to our spouse and answer an email where we feel, comfortable and validated than like turn and do some of the hard work that marriage requires. The same thing's true with parenting. It's easy to use work as an escape tool, instead of like diving in. But I think when we do dive in and are intentional in those areas, then those relationships benefit, and then our joy in those relationships benefits, right? So I think a healthy marriage has been a result. I think healthy family rhythms, we get to enjoy a lot of healthy family rhythms just because we're here. We get to be here for breakfast. We get to have family dinner around the table. Still, I'm gonna hold on to that for like as long as
Same
possible.
here. Yes.
Family dinners around the table. I think self-care has been a benefit. Like I do have time. I can go for a walk. I can go for a run. I can go to the gym. Um, Relationships, friendships, like being able to still cultivate friendships um, that just take time, like be off of social media, like real time, FaceTime, across a cup of coffee for lunch. Like those relationships just take time. And the same thing with like extended family. I have sister-in-laws that I love, and I have siblings that I love that I'm trying to build relationships with. So I think outside of business, there's nothing but benefits
Mhm.
from
Yeah.
giving those things more time and attention. But even inside of business, I think kind of like what we were just talking about, I really do think that there is that limiting yourself and creating boundaries can actually be a catalyst for higher profitability and more revenue. So I don't think it's just, oh, the noble thing to do is to sacrifice profitability and business for all of those things. Although I would argue that that is right and good and true, but I don't think they're not mutually exclusive. You can actually be very strategic with your time and be very disciplined and see exponential growth as a result of those limitations. So I think really everything just stands to win
That's
from
good.
intentionality.
No, that's so good. And a lot of great points that work is work, but outside of work, how healthy is your marriage?
Mhm.
How are your friendships? How's your spirituality? How's your health and all
Yeah,
the things?
like, do you have
So,
even time to eat a real meal? Like,
yeah,
I don't know about you, but on my work days, I struggle to eat because I'm just head down.
yeah.
I'm like every other small business owner, I'm in it. So even just to go grocery shopping and buy better food for my family to eat so that I have time to cook, like there's just so many benefits.
No, that's so good. So good. Before I forget, I wanted to let you know that while we are on a brief hiatus from this podcast, I will be polishing the details on a project that I am super elated to bring your way this summer. This podcast has always been my go-to spot to share my tips and the best tools for living well-rounded. However, you know I'm always trying to level up and raise the bar. Thus, I've been working behind the scenes to roll out a product and service suite I am dying to share with you. Head over to Geomyra.com/waitlist and join the waitlist to unlock access to our VIP list. The VIP list grants you access to bonus incentives and even more resources to help you curate your well-rounded, well-lived life. So jump on that waitlist, make sure you are in the know so that you are the first to know when we launch our big product this season. I can't wait. Geomyra.com/waitlist, and I will be in touch, friend. And so you mentioned earlier that you have a team of people that you work with. So what team members or tools do you feel are important when you are trying to do all the things and juggle all the hats as a mom, wife, boss, and all the things that you do on a daily basis?
Yeah. I wish I had I think what everybody loves to hear is like a list of productivity apps and things like that make balancing it all easier. And I do not have that. I will talk about team because that has been a big tool for me. But before I talk about team, I think two things I would say. These are not productivity apps, but these are things that you have to have in order to have balance and have a well-rounded life. One would be you have to have some time in the morning to set your intention for the day. Otherwise, we will just operate on all kinds of assumptions and we will just react to the whole rest of our day instead of really owning it and taking ownership over what our day ends up looking like. So I think time in the morning, whether that's like Bible study time for you or meditation time or prayer or just sitting quietly, I think a part of that has to be really setting your intention and vision for the day that then fits into like a larger vision for work and life. I still have to do that. You don't ever move past that. Doesn't matter how well-rounded you are. It still is a daily practice that you never move past. So I think that's like a critical tool. And then another critical tool that you cannot download in the App Store is honest conversation with your spouse and friends. There's just not an easier way to go about this. But I think in order for this to happen, you have to be willing to have honest conversation with yourself and honest conversation with your spouse. Let them speak into it and your kids. Oh, it's so painful. Like, kids, what do you guys think about the amount of time mommy and daddy are on their phone? And then sit and listen. Like, we have very open lines of communication, Graham and I, about work, and we still get our feelings hurt and we still get defensive, but we have established that if one of us is working past 5, like they're going to get some like side eye from the other person. That's not like, this is not the norm. This is not
the agreement. What are you doing?
Not the agreement. So honest conversation would be the other free app available in your life. But back to the question of team, I 100%, I could not build the business at the level that it's at now without a team. So I be very clear about that. I'm not amazing. I have other people that help to build this business, but it has always been 16 hours from the beginning. Even back in the day when I was doing all the things and I didn't have anybody to help me. So it is still very much possible. And it was possible then because of 80-20 to be profitable enough to begin to hire people so that I could continue to work 16 hours a week and the work also gets done. So I think that if you are at the point that your business has begun to be profitable, and you're able to pay yourself and still have some money left over, then that first hire, whether it's most likely just going to be like some kind of general assistant who also like answers emails and fills orders and, sends PDFs to your clients or whatever it's going to be. I think that first hire is really critical. I don't think everyone has to hire in order to grow and scale and keep minimal hours. Like my husband would be a great example of that. He decided to build a type of business that doesn't require very much. It requires content, like education content, podcast, YouTube videos, but they're things that he can do in a few hours a week. And then he has one person that handles like customer service inquiries, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think you have to have people in order to be successful, but certainly with my business model, I could not do it without other people. So yeah, I don't know if there's more that's like helpful there to talk about, but
No, I always think it's great to outsource, to delegate,
yeah.
to, work with people to get to your ultimate goal a little faster and to be more efficient. So I love that the idea of team is so important when you are trying to live well-rounded, that sometimes you got to tag other people in so that you
Oh,
can be
absolutely.
in other places.
And it's hard, right? Because we all think we're going to be best at it and it's our baby and we don't want to release control of certain things. But the reality is there's probably a lot of people that could do it even better than you.
I say that all the
So,
time. There's
like, I feel like
yeah,
everybody on my team is way better and smarter than me at their area, So
yeah,
like they're here to execute on their thing. And that gives me the ability to execute on my thing. And man, the sooner that you can really focus on whatever it is that you contribute as the owner or founder that produces revenue. So for me, that was like shooting images. And then now it's like shooting images and leading my team to produce their best work and to have really fulfilling work lives. That's how I contribute. The more you can just do what's really needed from you, not answering emails, not getting on Instagram, not unless Instagram is how you're building your business. It's going to be different for everyone. But the sooner you can get to just doing those things, the more profitable you are capable of being.
that's so good. But it's interesting because when you said that, I also thought about people who don't have businesses. Let's just say a mom, the more you can delegate, the more you can hire out or, get cleaning
Yeah,
service or grocery delivery,
absolutely.
you can be more profitable and pour into your family. So
Yeah, relationally profitable. Absolutely.
so hiring people, building a team that supports your household is
Yeah.
also another way, to make it happen. So
Oh, like anyone can sweep your floor, but not anyone can parent your child,
so
right?
true.
So like someone else can prep your food if that means like going by swinging by and getting a pre-made meal. Like someone else can prep your meal.
Right.
No one else can sit down and have that like after school conversation with your daughter about like that friend situation that came up during the school day. Like no one else can be married to your spouse. So there's like a
Mhm.
few things that really you have to show up for, and then there's a whole lot of things that either don't really need to be done in the first place, or we can let our standards drop a bit, or you can get somebody else to outsource it.
That is so true. And it's a reminder for myself as well. Like it may not be done the way I would have done it, but done is better than
Yeah.
perfect at a lot of the time. And so from your personal experience, what have been some of the challenges of putting family first and all the things we just talked about?
Yeah. A few things come to mind. One would be that you are going to disappoint people.
Mm,
You're going to disappoint customers. You're going to disappoint clients. You're going to disappoint team members when you decide to put family and other things first. But you get to choose who you're going to disappoint. You can disappoint your clients and customers. You can disappoint your family. And I think a lot of times we'll just go ahead and disappoint our family, like we'll disappoint or ourselves, like we'll disappoint ourselves. We'll withdraw out of what we need. Um, we'll disappoint our husband, we'll disappoint our kids by not being able to make it to that thing. And we'll choose to not disappoint the client or customer. But the reality is you are going to disappoint people. Like I disappoint my team members when they try to slack me for help on a non-work day and I don't get back to them. I'm sure they feel a little frustrated, like, I'm working right now and Shay's not working right now. But I'm trying not to disappoint the people that like I have been put on this earth to like really be in relationship with. So you're going to disappoint people. That's just a challenge. And ideally, there's a way that you can attract the right customers and clients that are in agreement with your vision for life and are aligned with you. So I don't think that's a huge barrier, but you're gonna disappoint people. You're not gonna be able to be everywhere. I think also you do have to, if you're gonna limit your work time and you really want to be present for these other areas of life, you are gonna have to limit you're not going to be able to be everywhere. You're not going to be able to do everything. So if it really matters to you that everyone knows your name and that they think you're awesome and that you're speaking at every conference or you're on every podcast or you're, on every social platform, then it's going to be hard. You're going to really struggle with feeling left behind and feeling out of the loop and feeling uncool. Maybe I'm just me projecting all of this onto your audience, but to a certain extent, I kind of live under a rock.
That's how I feel.
I don't know all the cool things. Like I don't know. I've never been on like half the social platforms that exist now, but I don't really care. I just get so, like it's vanity metrics, right? That sometimes we still are after. So I think that you do have to be okay with not being everywhere. You do have to, I have to keep my head down in order to stay focused and stick to those 16 hours a week. I can't get on Instagram and see what everybody else is doing because I'm just going to feel behind and I'm going to feel like, oh my gosh, everybody's passing me because they have more time to do it or they're more, they have more grit to them and they're willing to give more to work. But at the end of the day, when I lay awake in bed, I'm not mad about it, but for sure, it is a choice.
So good.
Yeah. Keeping your head down and you're going to grow a little bit slower. I think in some regards, like there's definitely things that I see another person, a 40-hour week, 60-hour week entrepreneur could bang out things that are going to take me like weeks or sometimes months to do. Cause I'm just going to go at a slower pace because I work limited hours and everybody on my team works limited hours for the same reason that I do. So it's going to take more time. But again, like at the end of the day, in the moment, I might feel a little miffed about it. Like I might be a little bummed that somebody else got that idea out faster. But when I'm laying in bed at night, I'm not mad about it. I'm glad that I went out and like jumped on the trampoline with my kids or like had a drink on the dock with my husband at the end of the day or something like that.
No, that's a great point, is that some people may get there faster, but yours might have better quality over, the quantity, like how fast they were able to do it and just spit it out. So, and everything that comes out of, your company is amazing. So with that, it shows that you're very intentional with your product and the quality and the services that you provide as well. So that's something to think about as well. You don't have to be the fastest, you don't have to be the biggest, but you can be the best if you are intentional and you pace it at a pace that feels good for your home and your business. So good. Yeah. And so around these parts, we do not believe in the word balance. However, you're running a successful business. We know you're an amazing mom, wife, and all the hats, as I mentioned earlier. So I want to know, what is your definition of living well-rounded?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about being present and just how important it is to be able to be present. So I'm after presence, like fully being present in the moment. I'm after joy. Like I want to enjoy what I'm doing. So when people ask like, what's your 5-year plan? I don't know. My 5-year plan is to be hopefully doing something that's really fun. And that if that's this, great. If that's not this, great. I'm after like fun and joy. Yeah, I think that presence piece is a big thing. Just being able to really be all in as a mom when my kids are there and all in as a wife when my husband's there. And then all in as a CEO when I'm at my desk and in my office and for my team. So being able to just like be very fully present there. And, definitely I often think about like, what am I still going to care about when I'm 80? You are friends with Laura Casey. That was kind of like an idea that she planted back in the making things happen days. Like when you're sitting on a rocking chair and you're 80 years old and you have like a glass of sweet tea in your hand, what are you going to look back on life and regret or not regret? And 100%, I'm not going to look back and regret that I didn't work more hours or make a little bit more money. I will 1,000,000% regret if I did not build that relationship with Chloe, if I did not build that relationship with my daughter, Vera, if I did not build that and tend to that relationship with my husband, if I did not take care of the one body that I have so that I could be healthy to be present for all of those other things in life. And if I'm alone because I didn't have any time to pour into my relationships, like I'm going to care about that stuff. I'm not going to care about whether or not I like got that extra collection shot or made a few more zeros at the end of my revenue numbers.
I'm sure someone listening got hit in the gut. Like, and Laura used to say that all the time. And as I'm getting older, it's making more sense about what matters and what you want to be remembered, what's your legacy, and your legacy is your children, and some more so than your business, because they will continue to go on even if the business doesn't. So it's something that now I'm like 80. I just need to put the number in my office. Just
It
80.
gives you so much perspective. Like
Yeah.
there is just a lot that I am not going to care about.
That is so true. And even for me in this season, my husband's my best friend. He's been my best friend since I was 16 years old. And at the end of the day, every day, you realize the people within the four walls, they're it for me. Like these are my people. This is my tribe. This is who God wanted me to take care of, to love on, to support. And that's where my time and energy is more so than ever, I feel like, personally.
I think another thing that makes me think of that I feel like is really helpful is that our generation thinks that they have to do it all right now. Like it's so like these are the best years and you have to like have your best business idea and execute on it now. And I think about with my girls specifically, like we count it in like, how many more summers do we have left with Chloe? Like,
oh wow, yeah, that's
she's
good.
12. We've got, six more summers with her maybe. And that's it.
Scary. It's so
That's
scary.
it. Like that's not very much time.
Oh my God.
I still will have, Lord willing, like thoughts and wisdom and energy in my 40s and in my 50s and in my 60s. So I have more life, Lord willing. I have more life. I could build a whole nother business if I want. I could double down on this one if it's still, operating that for 30 years from now. I don't know what technology will look like then, but I have more life, Lord willing. I have life ahead of me, but my time with my kids is very limited. And that clock is ticking down.
Sure.
So that helps me when I feel like my priorities are getting a little out of whack.
No, that's so good. That's so good. And so what are you most looking forward to in this next season of your life?
In the immediate season, I think I mentioned earlier, I'm like working with a coach that I heard about through Caitlin. You know Caitlin James?
Yes.
Yeah. So she has a coach that she's always spoken so highly about. And I'm working with this coach now. And just both my husband and I have really, I think, doubled down on counseling and coaching and just trying to like really undo a lot of preconceived notions and ways of thinking that get us into trouble, and just teasing out that stuff with the goal of more joy, like more joy in work, more joy in relationship. So yeah, it's a weird answer. This season of life, I'm just looking forward to kind of undoing a lot of the preconceived notions that I'm living and operating under, even with work. Like even when I show up for work, I assume I have to work 8 hours. What if I don't? I assume I have to do certain things that day. What if I don't? What if I don't? What if there's other things I could do? Like, so I'm just right now, I'm looking forward to the uncomfortable process of like undoing a lot of what 30 years of thinking a certain way has gotten me into, for better, for worse. So that's kind of the near term. I mean, with work, we've got so much great, exciting stuff ahead. Like we're in the middle of a ground up rebuild of the Social Squares platform just to give our users a better experience. We've got amazing contributing photographers lined up. Like the images that come in from them, I'm just so blown away and really humbled that like we get to use these, like our members get to have access to these for building their businesses. And I'm excited. I continue to be excited to be able to be a part of building the female-owned small business community. Our whole team just like fully gets behind the idea that the world is a richer, better place when women succeed in the business space. And we're at this just beautiful moment in society that women can do work that's meaningful and fulfilling and in line with their giftings, and also be at home and have kids or travel or whatever it is that they want to do. There's just more possibility now forever to create your own income, and you really can do almost whatever you want to do these days. So I continue to be really excited to be a part of that for as long as God lets us be a part of that. And obviously like right now we do that through supplying images, and we plan to keep doing that through the Social Squares membership. But I'm just excited to be a part of supporting other women establish themselves, get their messages out there, build their businesses, build well-rounded lives for themselves because they're able to work for themselves and build businesses around their passions. So that still gets me really excited.
That's
And I'm
awesome.
grateful that at least for now, I still get the chance to do that.
That is so awesome. And I love the whole idea of helping women build their businesses, which it excites me to think about the opportunities that our daughters will have that
Absolutely.
our grandparents didn't have, and all the
Yes.
things. And our kids are seeing the beauty of entrepreneurship and putting family first. And I think that is just such a blessing that we have the opportunity that maybe our parents didn't. So we
Absolutely.
definitely have to take advantage of that. So we're going to run into some rapid fire or this or that. Shay, are you ready?
Oh, I'm not good at these. Okay. I'll try to be ready.
You gave all of the inspiring words earlier, and we've got some simple personal questions, and now you're shaking.
Yep.
All
Now
right.
I'm sweating.
Here we go.
Okay.
All right, you're stuck on an island. What are 3 things you must have? And you can't take your 2 daughters and your husband.
Okay. And does it, I'm a Christian, so I feel like I have to say a Bible, and that would be accurate, but that's we're just gonna put those in the top 3. The other 2 things would be Lay's potato chips.
Ooh, yes.
And the ingredients to make tequila and tonics.
Yes.
That's technically 3 things.
You're going to be drinking, eating chips, reading your Bible, Shay. I love it.
Exactly. That is well-rounded.
All the things, my girl. All right. European vacay or Caribbean getaway?
Oh, Europe, wine country, middle of nowhere. Not Paris. I could take or leave Paris a little bit, but like just sitting on a mountainside with a sunflower field and lavender field to my left, sunflower field to my right.
Good.
Yes.
I love that. If you could hire a personal chef or once a week cleaning or personal driver, which of the 3 would you pick?
1,000,000,000% a personal chef. I love good food, and cooking takes so much time. I would rather be like taking a walk with my husband. He keeps telling me we should just do it, but I have a hard time getting past that. I have some mental barriers.
I hear you. I'm the same way.
Chef.
I like to cook. I cook well, but it's nice to have someone else prepare restaurant quality meals. So we might have to talk about that one. Give ourselves.
I've actually looked into it, and I just have such a hard time pulling the trigger. But
yeah, we'll talk about that one. If you had to shop at one store for the rest of your life, what store would that be?
I need somebody to help me out here. I don't know. I haven't found that store yet. So the cop out would be saying Nordstrom, because Nordstrom has a little bit of everything.
That is so genius. Yes.
But I want to find just my one store, so I can just buy stuff from there and not waste time online shopping anywhere else.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite? You have a one store?
You see, my answer probably would have been like J. Crew or Lululemon, but you're so genius that now I'm thinking Target, because you can get like everything.
I know. I would have said J. Crew, but then I don't love all their stuff. But
not
J. Crew.
Yeah.
Lulu, but like I like to put on real clothes. But Nordstrom actually carries J. Crew and athletic clothes, so we should go with Nordstrom.
Roll with Nordstrom's. Good answer. Favorite quote or scripture that you love?
Oh my gosh, I should have one. I do not. But one thing that comes to mind, the source is a little bizarre. My mother-in-law, in her email signature for a little while, had this quote that said, have a great day if you want to. That was like how the signature line at her email, at the bottom of her email, was, have a great day if you want to.
I'm gonna use that.
I just love that. Like, that is so true. You know what? You have some ownership over it. Have a great day if you want to. Yeah. If you don't want to, you're not going to have a great day. So, not at all. I'm going to, but I do. There's something about that I haven't gotten brave enough to put that as my email signature, but I want to at times. Like, have a great day if you want to.
When my daughter gets out the car tomorrow, when I drop her off for school, I'm going to say, have a great day if you want to.
Right.
She's probably gonna be like, what? But then it'll register. It will register later on. And she's like,
yeah. Right. I need to start saying that to my 12-year-old.
I love it. That's gonna be it. Yes. Do you have a hidden talent or fun fact about yourself?
Oh my gosh. I discovered a few summers ago out of nowhere that I actually can watercolor, and I have never taken an art class in my whole life. And I always wanted to have like a secret, I think everybody wants to be like a prodigy at something and they just didn't know it. And then they just discovered one day they're like the world's best tennis player or something. I always wanted that. And alas, that did not turn out to be true until a few years ago. And I sat down and I actually figured out I could actually watercolor. I was pretty excited about that.
So can we get some of that original art in the membership?
Yeah, right. Start a whole nother business.
Yep. What was your first job?
Selling friendship bracelets out of an Altoids tin on the playground.
I love it.
After that came Icy Pops.
From the beginning.
So we started from the beginning. I started as an entrepreneur a long, long time ago.
Yep.
My first paid job, real job, was at a bagel bakery.
Okay.
Schlepping cream cheese on a bagel on bagels. There you have it, folks. That's actually how I met my husband. So it wasn't that bad of a deal.
Look at that. See, you guys have a story. I love it. What is something on your bucket list?
I would like to go to a country that it scares me to travel to. Like there's a lot of countries out there that I feel like, I don't know my way around. I don't speak the language. I just have all those barriers that people that don't get out very much have. Yeah. And people that travel the world all the time are like, it's really not a big deal. But so I would love to do that. Like go to a place like Dubai or Japan or just one of these places where I don't speak. I know I can, but there really is a real barrier there of I'm just I'm going to get there and feel dumb because I don't know how to communicate so I want to do that. I want to just make it happen someday and not be afraid of it because the world is too big. There's too much out there to see. And, we own our own businesses. We have the capabilities. So there's nobody else holding me back other than myself. So hopefully.
I went to Dubai 2 years ago and it was no barriers. Everyone, I always say the people overseas are very much more educated than Americans because they're forced to speak other languages.
Yeah.
So it was so easy breezy and it was awesome. So
that's encouraging.
Yeah, it was great. And we love to travel. So I've never gone to a country and felt like, what the heck? I don't know what's going on. They help us. And then the technology, Google Translate. It's been amazing. And it's exciting to take our kids to see the world as well, because it's not just, the small area in which we live. So
that's so encouraging. Thanks for telling me that. I'll have to ask you some more questions about that because absolutely. I'm so glad that you've done it before and had such a great experience.
Yes. Italy, Greece, Paris, all the things. And that's awesome. Not scared. It's just fun. It's excitement. So it's excitement and blessings to be able to do it for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, Shay, this has been amazing. So I know everyone listening wants to stay connected with you. So where can the Well-Rounders find you on the web?
Yeah. Well, if you are a small business owner and you need images for website and social media and blog posts and Pinterest marketing and all of those things, then you can find Social Squares is the stock image membership that I run. And if you're listening to this, you can go to socialsquares.com/well-rounded-life. And there'll be an invitation to trial the membership for $1. So definitely give that a try. But you can kind of see what we're doing there on the membership there at socialsquares.com. And then you can find Social Squares on Instagram at Social Squares. And you can find me on Instagram as at Shay Cochrane. That is the only platform that I am on. I am not cool enough to be on TikTok. I am not on Clubhouse. I am not on Snapchat. I am not on Facebook. I am not anywhere else because I am a dinosaur in the industry. So.
I love it. But it works. Bills are
paid. It works though.
Roof over your head. You guys, simplicity is the key in all of that. Well, thank you so much for your time. I loved every second of it. Obviously, we hang out on Instagram, but we definitely have to do this again. And Well-Rounders, thank you for tuning in to another episode. I know you learned something amazing hearing from you, Shay. So Well-Rounders, let us know you are tuned in, screenshot, tag us, DM, all the things, and let us know what you liked, what you learned. And then also you can leave a review of this episode or any of the episodes that you have listened to thus far. In the meantime, remember to stay safe, stay positive, and to focus on what matters most.
I just really love my chat with Shay so much. I am feeling invigorated and empowered to shake things up a bit so that I can begin to reclaim even more hours of my time. So 2 quick reminders. If you head over to socialsquares.com/wellroundedlife, that is socialsquares.com/wellroundedlife, you get access to Social Squares for only $17. Yes, Shay was generous enough to give us an offer code for our well-rounders so that you can try her social stock. It's amazing. You're going to love it. So head over to socialsquares.com/wellroundedlife, check it out, and make sure you let us know how it goes. Also, do not forget that you want to join our VIP waitlist for the products and services that we are launching this summer. So Geomyra.com/waitlist. And again, all of this will be in the show notes, so we have got you covered there. Thank you, friend. Thank you for listening. Go out and share this episode, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Thanks for kicking it with us, Well-Rounder. Share this goodness with your squad and drop us a quick review. Get notified of new episodes by hitting the subscribe button. Until next time, seek a well-rounded life and remember to focus on what matters most.